Hey, strangers. Welcome back to another episode of The Strange Session, Season 4, Episode 1.
Yay.
I'm your pouty host, Krista, and I'm pouting because Kurt made me open the show today, and I wasn't prepared. I always prefer it when Kurt does it because he says something funny. So how's it going, Kurt?
It's going good, but she accused me of making my own rules.
He does. He makes his own rules up. I said, whose turn is it to open? And he said, I think it's yours. I opened last season. That's not how we do this.
Whatever. I'm done. I'm done with this podcast.
You're going to drop the mic on your way out?
Yeah,
like
mic
literally?
drop on the way out.
No.
Yeah, but then you got to walk out with me because we're hearing scary noises.
No. It is like so scary in here today.
We're hearing scary noises out in the hallway.
We barely got in here and we both heard what sounded like a dog growling.
Yeah, it's like when I pulled up, I think it was like 6:15 in the morning. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going in there by myself without Krista.
Oh, it's pitch dark.
That's what kind of big, brave ghost hunters we are.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta wait for Krista to get here. And then we're hearing weird noises when we walked into the studio.
Totally.
That's why we said we need Corey here to debunk all the noises and tell us
nothing.
what they are.
It's probably nothing.
So yeah, Season 4.
Yeah, I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and
all that stuff.
It's like 8 degrees right now.
Yeah, it's really cold.
It was like 40 yesterday, though. This weather here is insane.
We're probably like one of the earliest recording podcasts that I can think of.
Early in the morning?
Because we record at like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Well, it's 7:15 now, but we did get here at 6:30.
Yes, we did.
We putzed around for almost 45 minutes.
We did. We got a brand new coffee maker in the studio, so I made coffee.
Kurt cleaned the studio up over our break.
Yep.
Very nice. It's very spiffy.
It is very spiffy.
So.
And I think that's it.
Should we talk about our new strangers?
Yes.
We have a whole boatload.
Shout outs to our newest strangers, and those are Amanda Burke, Daniel Poulis, Margaret Duffy Devine, Michael Adams, Timothy Pope, who lives in Brillion, which is just like right down the road from Manitowoc, from where I live. Brad Medeiros, Dale James Cooper, The Xander Zone, which is a podcast.
Oh, cool.
Matthew Dwyer, Daniel Jacobs, Stephanie Shalou Hancock, which is my cousin. Hi, Steph. Natasha Hill, Nina Wergen, Amber Bilka, Sean S. Hughes, and Lauren Kelly.
Oh, that's a long list. So Xander is the one who emailed us, right?
Yeah, he is starting. Xander? He's starting his own podcast, and he emailed us with like questions and advice, and then I feel bad because we're kind of a rinky-dink operation. We really don't.
We argue about who's going to start the show.
Yeah, we are. We don't we've never interviewed anybody.
No, we've had co-hosts.
We've had co-hosts, but we've never
done an interview. That's true. I've done a lot of interviewing through my work podcast, but I don't know. It's kind of like your stomach is very active today.
It's very my Egg McMuffin.
It's kind of, in my opinion, just like having a conversation. I don't know. I think it's a good idea if he's looking for advice to have a list of questions, but the conversation will kind of evolve naturally as well.
Yeah, that's the thing is that I wouldn't want to have a list of set questions. Just ask that. Move on to the next one. Move on to the next one.
Yeah, you build off of where you...
Yeah, I'd rather have a conversation. But at some point, we're going to have to interview somebody on here.
I suppose.
You know.
Just pull some random dude
and
walking.
Xander, yeah.
There's this couple that walks their Great Dane through here.
Yeah,
we should just be like, hey, you guys want to be on our podcast?
But Xander wanted to interview us like with Skype or something like that, and it's just logistics of that is hard because you and I don't get together that often.
Every other week,
you know.
Yeah,
but
I'm also in school now on top of working full time. So my free time
he asked how we make it work so well,
and I was thinking, it work so well.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that on the drive here, and it's like
our chemistry.
I think our chemistry, but also the fact that like if I message you like 4 days ago and said, we're recording Thursday morning at 6:30, be there, that we might not even text, but we know when that time comes, we will both be here.
Oh, yeah.
Like neither of us flake on the other.
Never.
Which is super important.
Yeah.
Be like, dude, I totally forgot we had a podcast. So you and I are like really responsible with that stuff, which is cool.
I also think that people really like that they know what to expect. We're going to do a taste test. We're going to have a topic. We're going to have a pickle joke.
People like the pickle jokes.
I love podcasts that have like a set format like that.
Yep.
I'm really into Bigfoot Collectors Club right now, and it's Bryce Johnson from Expedition Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. And the podcast has been out for a while, like long before Expedition Bigfoot came out, and they have sort of a similar feel to their podcast. It's kind of funny but also serious, and they have regular segments that they do, and I look forward to the segments. So I think that's important.
I still just pretty much listen to the Sofa King podcast.
Yeah.
Part of me Like, I'm noticing that they're doing episodes like shortly after we do an episode about something. I don't think they're listening to us. I think it's just a coincidence. But I love the Sofa King podcast, but it is so offensive.
Yeah.
It's not even funny. But I'm driving on the road just laughing, listening to it. And
hey, that's what counts.
Exactly.
Bigfoot Collectors Club makes me laugh out loud. This morning, I was crying on the way here.
I'm going to have to listen to that one.
Yeah, the guest today got emotional. And of course, that made me emotional because that's what I do. But
yeah, me too.
I think the key is get good sound equipment, and it doesn't have to be expensive. If we spent $100 to $200 on this, I think we have really good sound quality.
Well, and like when somebody asks me what we use to record, I'm like, I don't know. Krista
has
this little box that has all these dials and
that I don't touch,
and lights that go all jangle dangle on there. And I don't
turn
know what
it on.
Yeah, that's pretty much it's our high tech operation here.
Turn on the microphones,
but hey, it works for the most part.
Yeah, so good equipment.
Yep.
Find the format that works and stick to it.
Yeah, you just naturally come across it. Like I told them, taste tests weren't meant to be a thing. They just kind of became a thing.
Yeah. And some people have told us they used to skip over the taste test and now it's their favorite part.
Yeah.
Or our banter they used to skip over and now they look forward to it because they feel like they know us now. And I just love that stuff.
Yeah.
I love that kind of feedback. So
we should just a little bit about us in case somebody is listening to the first time.
Just coming in for the first time?
Yeah.
Well, I'm Krista. I'm a railroad conductor. I'm 23 years old.
Wow. You're
making all of
this
up.
Millennial.
Actually, I don't think I've ever said what I do, but that's intentional.
Yeah.
I like to keep certain things private.
Krista's more private than I am. I throw everything
Kurt
out there.
will give you his home address.
Yeah.
I don't even like to mention where I live.
Stop on over. I'll give you a slice of pizza. But Krista and I have been friends for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Like 13, 14,
We
15
underestimate,
years?
yes, because I've been married to my husband for 12 years. It'll be 13 years.
Yeah, and when I was at
year.
your wedding, we were already good friends by that
and you
point.
guys were at my wedding. So at least 14 to 15 possibly years.
So we're very good friends. We're in a Wisconsin ghost hunting group called Heartland Paranormal Investigations, which we don't really do much anymore.
Or anything. We don't do anything anymore.
And, we just both love the paranormal stuff. We love mysterious stuff. And, Krista's taste kind of goes more towards cryptids and like that and missing persons, like true crime stuff. And I really like just like offbeat weird things like Captain Coochie's key lime pies and stuff like that. So it works.
Yeah, we've both had a lot of personal experiences either in our personal life or on investigations. So look back at the prior seasons. You'll find episodes where we talk about that.
Yeah. And we have a great community in The Strangers.
Oh,
our
it's
Facebook.
amazing.
Yeah, our Facebook group, The Strangers, is just, it astounds me how awesome everybody is.
I mean, not one time have I ever seen an exchange that was rude
and
or
like
heated.
somebody will post something and then I won't get it until like hours later, and I'll go look and they're already all discussing amongst themselves.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it is really. They're just a great bunch of people. Like I'm constantly floored by how awesome they are, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, we still occasionally get people who ask to join The Strangers and don't answer the questions.
Yeah, and then they just created their account like 2 hours ago, and they live in.
Although I did give people advice to do that, but you still have to answer the questions.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, "Not yet." Like I haven't listened to it yet. Well, get back to us after you.
I thought about making The Strangers Facebook page name The Strangers, a Strange Sessions podcast, but I don't want to make it easier to get to. I like that people have to actually
listen to find it.
Listen to find it.
Right.
So,
I don't want people just stumbling on it.
No, exactly. And I think that's
it's like the dark web.
I think that's true. Yeah, we don't have red rooms where we torture people.
Not at all.
Yeah. So.
Should we mention our prototype?
Oh, you can. Yeah.
So Kurt did you post it to the Facebook page?
Not yet, but it will be on the Facebook page by the time this comes out.
Yes. So Sherry Myers, hello Sherry.
Hi Sherry.
Listener and coworker, very crafty. She has put together our first prototype for a Strange Sessions coffee mug. So we are going to post that. It's a work in progress. We haven't quite gotten it where we want it. We still don't know what we're going to charge or anything like that, but at least know that we're working on it. So Kurt's going to post a picture.
We're trying to get something going because a lot of people want something.
Yeah. So
I think that's it.
There's probably all kinds of housekeeping.
Oh yeah, there is.
No clue.
Yeah, season 4 and we're still.
Have you watched Poltergeist yet?
I was going to last night.
I'm going to send you a text.
I actually was going to last night, But then at like 6:30, I realized I forgot to print out my notes for the podcast. I forgot to convert some stuff, and it's like crap.
Yeah.
And then by that time, it's like 7:30, and then that's like bedtime already. So
I keep goading you to watch it, and you're probably going to hate it.
I know.
And then I'll be super disappointed.
But then there's also been a bunch of movies that I wanted to see that have been on TV, so then I DVR'd them. Like I wanted to really see John Wick 3, so...
I like the John Wick movies.
I do, and I'm not like a super big action movie guy, but I love
Keanu,
I love the John Wick movies.
Yeah.
And I recorded that Happy Death Day and then
Those
Happy
are
Death
good.
Day to You. I didn't watch that yet.
I think they're both good.
So the Poltergeist movie will be coming
Okay.
by the next episode.
We just watched It Chapter 2.
Was it good?
It was really long.
Yeah.
It's like 2 hours and 49 minutes. And I feel like they could have, there were so many flashbacks back to when they were kids.
Yeah, but that's how the book was.
I feel like you covered all that in the first movie. For a book, great. For a movie, though, it was really long. But it was good. I thought it was cast really well. And we also watched, not paranormal at all, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is a Quentin Tarantino movie. Another 2 hour and 49 minute movie where virtually nothing happens.
Yep, that's cool.
Until an extremely violent scene at the end that
which I
to
watched.
me was
I watched that on YouTube actually because I don't, like I said, I'm
too much. I
I'm
can't
really
handle
hit or
that.
miss with Quentin Tarantino. Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill are two of my favorite movies, but I just his other ones just
I love Reservoir Dogs.
See,
but
I would think that's overrated.
I don't know. I love it. Every time I hear Stuck in the Middle with You, I picture Michael Madsen dancing with a knife
you
and
can't not
slicing
picture
someone's
that.
ear off.
Yeah, that song always makes you want to cut off
an ear.
tied up cop's ear. So,
anyway,
I think that's it.
I'm sure there's more.
Yeah.
We should have just a housekeeping episode. I feel like we're yammering
We're gonna
on
have
for like 20 minutes.
all this backlogged housekeeping that we forgot to do.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention from 2017.
Yeah. And I don't
Has
think
anyone
there's-
sent us anything that we forgot to mention? We got a couple postcards.
We got something I'll be bringing out in a second.
Awesome.
But no, season 4.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either.
2020,
we have the
new
first
decade.
5 topics picked out.
Yeah.
But there's some that I want to get to in this season that we've been saying every season. We need to do this. So MK Ultra is coming up because
And
MK Ultra.
Are you picking topics from we had a poll where people
There's going to be a couple of the
Okay.
topics, but like there's some that are really interesting,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to put those off because I don't want to run out of things to do. Like I mentioned, I love the
Kurt's
sofa.
big fear we're going to run
I
out of
love the
topics.
Sofa King podcast, but you can see that they kind of ran out of weird paranormal conspiracy things to do. But I listened to the one yesterday. One of their new episodes is about the Great Wall of China, which was actually really interesting because I knew nothing about the wall.
Is there something weird about it?
No, it's just
okay.
it's about like the history behind it and stuff. So they're just kind of going
It's
into
a history podcast.
yeah,
now.
basically. But that's what I worry about is that we're going to run out of stuff to do.
I think there's so many different things we could tap into that we're not even thinking.
I hope so because I'm thinking 2 more seasons and we might
You're
start.
nuts.
You're nuts.
You're nuts.
I'm done with this podcast.
You're
I quit.
pecans and Brazil nuts
Oh God.
and hazelnuts.
And those are the 3. Wow, thank you. I'm impressed. You know that.
I gave Kurt some Christmas candy and assured him I did not try to kill him with any of it. It's just peanuts, chocolate covered peanuts.
I totally trust you.
There's a Christmas cookie in there too that my mom made. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, speaking of food, is it taste test time or?
It is taste test
Okay.
time.
Am I going to be scared?
It is a combination Christmas gift.
Ooh,
First,
it's wrapped.
yeah, it is from Jamie, our good friend
Look at
Jamie,
the
who
wrapping paper.
who has sat in on 2 episodes. He was in Area 51 episode and the Bridgewater Triangle.
Yep.
And he got us our first taste test for the season, and
I-
it's a Christmas gift.
I have to take a picture of that.
Yeah.
It is adorbs.
And you
Are
asked,
those llamas
yeah, I think
or
they're-
reindeer or something?
I think it's llamas.
Or is it reindeer? I can't tell. They're white, but they're adorable.
It says to Kurt and Krista from Jamie, and you asked if you should be scared, and yes, you should.
Shoot. Shoot. Oh, yeah, maybe those are llamas. This is so cute. It's pink, and they have little cacti all over it, and white llamas wearing Christmas hats.
But that-
Because, of course.
Of course. That is our combination,
I feel like I should be able to open this one pretty good.
You
Am I
should.
opening this?
Yes.
Okay.
always.
Are you ready?
I am ready. I know what it is.
I'll
I know
probably
what
get
it
a
is.
wicked paper cut, though. or
But this is
something.
from Jamie. Our first taste test for the season.
Oh, boy. Candy canes. Oh, did he post this on the
Yes, he
Facebook
did.
page?
Yes, he
They're
did.
clam flavored candy canes.
The clam flavored candy canes.
Clammy canes. They're called clamdy canes.
It is way too early in the morning for
God.
clam-flavored candy canes.
It's way too early in the morning for clam-flavored anything. Okay, I'm going to take
Clam
a picture.
digger, though, wouldn't be bad.
What's a what?
Clam digger?
What's a clam digger?
You live in Wisconsin, you don't know what a clam digger is?
I know they're a pair of pants.
No, a clam digger is a drink.
Like culottes. So what's in a clam digger?
It's like Bloody Mary, except with clam juice.
Oh, I think that would be good, though. Like, people think oyster sauce is gross, but it's actually delicious. It's used in a lot of, like, Asian food. Okay, let's see. I guess I got that open. Now I got to get this open.
Thank you, Jamie, I think.
Woo!
Wow.
Did you hear that? It's very forceful.
Oh,
Here you
boy.
go, Kurt.
Thank you.
It's like tan and white.
It doesn't even look
boy.
appealing.
Think I can smell it yet? Nope. No, it doesn't even look appealing. I won't be able to get this open.
How do we open this?
You know how long it's been since I've opened a candy cane? You should just do one episode of me grunting while I open
stuff.
stupid packages. All right, I'm going to bite
No, because God knows what people would use that for.
Oh, yeah, probably. As long as I get royalties. I'm cool with it. Aren't you supposed to just be able to, like,
You would think.
unpeel it? Wow, we really are having to work at this disgusting taste test.
I got my multi-tool out and I'm trying to cut it open.
Oh, my God. I'm just breaking it. That's what you got to do. Just break it. Wow, that is some strong plastic. It's probably because if we got wind of the scent, we'd be like,
Like, I'm out of
Oh
here.
my God, now it looks like drugs all over the table. Okay. I finally got into it.
Yeah, I'm going to bust mine too.
Oh, no.
Does it stink?
Oh, my God. It smells so bad.
I'm not even going to smell it. I'm just going to put it in
yeah,
my mouth.
you don't want to smell it. I wish I hadn't smelled it. It's reminiscent of many other
Our
taste tests.
Oh, great.
Okay, are
It's
you
too
ready?
early in the morning
Is
to
this
vomit.
like a New England area kind of thing?
I hope not. Are you going to suck it or are you going to bite it?
That's what she said. I'm not biting it. I don't want to have to crunch on this.
All right, ready?
Are you ready? Okay.
1, 2, 3. It's
Oh, no. It's gross. It tastes like peppermint and clams. Ew. I don't know why anyone would. You like it, don't you? You don't taste the clams?
It's not anywhere near as bad as I expected.
Smell it. Now you have to smell it.
Oh, okay. It smells way worse than it tastes.
Oh.
It's sweet. I did not kind of expect it to be sweet.
Ugh, I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're taking these home because I don't
No.
want them.
No.
It's gross.
Now the taste just hit me.
Oh. Thanks, Jamie. I'm throwing this out because I don't want it near me. I'm
Nope.
sorry. Oh, you want me to throw yours out?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Why would anyone do that?
It wasn't.
I know why he'd send it to us.
It wasn't bad at first because at first it was the sweetness, but then the clam slaps you in the face.
That was my microphone. Oh, my hands are all sticky now.
Here.
Oh, thank you. Great, I'm gonna electrocute myself trying to get the smell off.
It'd be a cool obituary. Krista electrocuted herself trying to get the smell of clam candy canes off her hands.
Clam decay.
Clam canes. That was. Thanks, Jamie.
I'm taking my thanks back. I'm gonna send you a taste test, Jamie.
That taste is like lingering.
Didn't he send? Is he the one who sent us like canned fish too?
Yes.
Okay, that's enough now. You're banned.
It surprised me that the first suck or lick isn't that bad because
you
it's
hadn't
sweet.
smelled it yet.
No, but if you smell it
smell
before you put it in
ruins
your
it.
mouth, you're
Oh.
done.
Well, we're off to a great
Yep,
start.
season 4 is off to a good fishy start.
The best part of this was the wrapping paper.
Save that. That is cool.
Super cute.
It is cute.
Okay. I should give these to Jeff and Joe and not tell them what they are.
Just leave him laying
Well,
on
that'd
the.
be so mean.
Leave him laying on the
I
table.
love it. We're meeting on Monday, not here at work. Maybe I'll bring them then. Be like, here's a present for you guys.
Or give them to kids when a kid's.
Oh my God. Okay.
What else do we got? I don't think anything. We have one backup episode recorded for a snow emergency.
Yes.
We wanted more, but we only ended up with one. And that one is kind of annoying because all the kids in the room next to us.
I forgot about that. Can you hear it?
Yes. It's
dang.
really obnoxious.
Like through the whole episode, we're like, if you can hear that, it's
up until
not
the
a haunting.
last, I don't know if you remember what it was about. Up until the last story we do about the anthem.
Okay.
It stops like right before that. But just giving you
because they finally go in
I'm
another
apologizing
room.
ahead of time, but there were kids here and they were in the room directly
right
next
to us,
doing something on the chalkboard there, and they were so loud. So
yeah,
just giving you a heads up when that episode comes out. I'm sorry, we're so annoying.
It wasn't us.
And on to the topic for our season premiere, which was voted on by the strangers. And this totally surprised me because I did not think this one was going to win.
I'm excited about this.
I am too, but I'm also kind of disappointed because I expected it to be a better topic to research. There's not a lot. The topic is strange phone calls.
Yeah.
And there's two in here that I wanted to do on the show.
Stories?
Yes,
Okay.
two that I wanted to do. But for the most part, when you look it up online, it's a lot of Reddit stories that are like, my grandma died and all of a sudden the next day the phone rang, nobody was there. It's a lot of those. What was I saying?
Have you ever had a weird phone?
No, but my phone phobia. I have
totally.
Yeah, going into this episode, it's about strange phone calls. I have a weird phone phobia, but not so much cell phones, but it's more to do with the old school landline phones where you had to be connected to the wall. Where the other person, you'd talk to somebody and the other person would hang up, and then there would just be that silence. They'd click, and then there would just be that silence on their end.
Just waiting to hear something?
Just like a waiting to hear something. There's something about that freaks me out, and I don't know. That has always been like a weird phobia for me. And I don't know what it is, but I have never gotten a strange... I think I might have said this on the podcast once, but years ago... I got a phone call and I picked it up and there was a male voice and it started breathing heavy and he was referencing him and I doing something in the bushes at Ream Park in Manitowoc and asked me if I enjoyed it.
How old were you?
A teenager.
Okay.
And asked me if I enjoyed it. And I swore to God it was Jamie, my friend Jamie. Because it sounded...
not Jamie
Jamie that sent us the clip.
Yeah,
because it sounded like him.
He has a very distinct voice.
Yeah, and it sounded like him. So I'm like, yeah, I enjoyed it. And then I went off on this really filthy, this really filthy description of what we supposedly did in the bushes and how much I liked it. And there was just silence on the other end, and then the guy hung up. So I think I freaked him out by being 100 times worse than he was. And so then I think I called Jamie, and Jamie's like, "No, I'm out of town. I'm out of town with my family or something like that." So it wasn't Jamie. So I pride myself that I totally freaked out an obscene phone caller by being 100 times worse than he was being.
You've never told me that before.
So,
that's creepy,
but
though.
I have no freaky phone calls.
Me either that I can think of.
One might pop into my head when I leave, so if I think of something, I'll let you know in the housekeeping that we ask about in the next episode.
We never go over in the next episode.
Do you have any weird phone calls?
No, nothing that I can remember.
No. So I have a couple stories. I mean, there's ghost ones, there's weird ones, there's, like I said, there's two that I wanted to do because I was kind of fascinated by these stories.
Okay. Did you find them on Reddit or?
No, just there's a couple Reddit stories.
Okay.
But what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep looking at Reddit. And when I find neat stories about phone calls, I'm going to save them. And then at some point, we want to do an episode about just Bigfoot stories.
Yeah.
Bigfoot sighting stories, that we will do an episode about strange phone call stories.
Okay.
So we'll do a follow-up episode to this. But right now, these are ones that I looked into online. And the first story is just a really, really short one. But this is kind of, I think, what people want from this episode. Okay. So this one comes from a YouTube user called Paranormal Normalcy. She was a ghost hunter. And she had this on her YouTube channel. And I wanted to get in touch with her to ask her if I could use it. But her Facebook is deactivated and I couldn't reach her. So I'm just using it anyway. But I figure she put it on YouTube. She doesn't care if people hear it. But
and you're giving her credit for it. So
yeah, this
if you
is the
want
one
to
that,
see the original video,
yes,
go to
yes,
YouTube.
Paranormal Normalcy. This is the one that I gave you a sound clip for.
Yeah.
So she wrote on YouTube, my grandfather passed away on December 23rd, 2010, just a few months ago. So this is kind of an older clip.
Yep.
I received voicemail notification on my landline phone after one ring and proceeded to check my voicemail. This is what I got. So here is the sound clip that she had up on YouTube of the phone call she got just a few months after her grandfather passed away.
Saved message.
She says,
wow.
Yeah, she says, this is what I got. White noise and what sounds like a clearly whispered grandpa.
Okay.
And that's what I totally hear. The first time I heard it.
I couldn't tell if it was him saying a name as a man.
Yeah, if you want to put it in there again, it sounds like a whispered grandpa.
Saved message.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's weird.
Oh,
and
that's creepy.
Yeah, we
like
didn't.
You want it to make you feel good, but it's creepy.
It is creepy. It's very creepy.
You know, Rhonda has always said, hi, Rhonda.
Hi, Rhonda.
A good friend, fellow investigator, has always said that EVPs always either are whispers or they have that breathy
like a really
quality
breathy
to
quality.
them.
And this sounds like an EVP.
A quintessential EVP.
Yeah. So that's creepy. I don't know what to think of that. We might play it in a later episode, but Krista and I have a personal friend that had a voicemail left by
a similar situation.
A very similar situation, a voicemail.
But way more striking and amazing.
Yeah, that left by a deceased relative.
Yeah, we want to get this person's permission to even talk about it or use it, but I get chills thinking about it in a good way.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. So that's kind of what
Sorry
I think.
to tease you guys with that.
So that's what I think people wanted to hear as far as
that's pretty much what you think about.
Strange phone calls. And like it's a different world now with voicemail messages and phones and you know, like I try explaining to Miranda, my very young friend, how different it was with phones back in the day. You know, and like even to think about way back in the day when you had party lines.
Yeah,
where
my grandparents had a party line.
I just, you know, like I said, I'm nosy. I would have sat there all day and just listened to what people were saying to each other.
I remember it being frustrating though because you'd want to make a call and you'd pick up the phone and people
were
would be in the middle of a conversation and you'd just have to keep checking until they were done.
So cell phones don't really freak me out, but landlines do. And this was on a landline voicemail. Yeah. So very weird. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to make of that. One thing that freaks me out a lot is that, you know, researching some of these, a lot of them, and they actually stated this in some of the articles I read, a lot of these, the person that is deceased speaks, and if they try speaking again, they sound farther away. And they said it's almost like something is pulling them away from the phone.
Which is
a really creepy thought.
Huh. I like to think of it more like they can only muster enough energy to get out a whisper, and so that would get harder and harder as that's better.
They said it was almost like something was pulling them back from the phone.
Nope.
So Krista's noping out of that. So that is Paranormal Normalcy's grandfather story.
Wow.
The next one I thought you would like because I know you like him, and that is Dean Koontz.
Yes.
On September 20th, 1988, author Dean Koontz was working in his office when the phone rang. He picked it up and he heard the voice of a woman that sounded distant, almost like she wasn't that close to the mouthpiece of the phone. The woman's voice said, quote, "Please be careful." Koontz said that her voice sounded urgent and full of panic. He asked who it was, but the woman just kept repeating the phrase, please be careful, over and over. She repeated it a few more times, each time sounding farther and farther away from the phone, before the line went dead. Koontz was stunned because he had no idea what happened. He thought that the voice could have been that of his mother, but she had been dead for over 20 years, and he couldn't be sure. He had an unlisted number, so he didn't think it could have been a prank phone call directed at him. The phone call kind of freaked him out, and he couldn't shake it, understandably. 2 days later, Dean was called to go to the assisted living facility his father was in because his dad was having problems getting into fights with the staff and other residents. Nobody knew that his dad had managed to bring in a small fishing knife. When Dean walked into the room, his dad pulled out the knife. Dean managed to wrestle it away from his father and tried removing the knife from the room, only to run into the police in the hallway outside the room. They saw him with the knife, and they quickly drew their guns, ordering him to put the knife down. He tried explaining what was going on, but the police continued to order him to drop the knife. With the call still in his mind, he realized that he needed to quickly drop the knife and do what the police were saying. To this day, he credits the phone call with preventing him from possibly being killed by gunfire.
Or by his own father.
Kuntz said, quote, "It was such a strange call. I don't claim that it was a ghost. I don't know what I believe. It certainly was odd. People report these kinds of events all the time, and it's always struck me as interesting that everyone seems to have an experience or two of the uncanny. Sometimes I believe that call was from my mother, and sometimes that it was a very strange, serendipitous wrong number. I think you always have to keep some skepticism about things like this, but it's comforting to think that there may be a realm where the personality survives." So that is a Dean Koontz story, and I found that a couple times online.
Interesting.
That is
Never
interesting.
heard that before.
And again,
I've read so many of his books, but I guess I don't know much about him personally.
He's not bad for a bargain basement Stephen King. but again, the person's voice getting like farther and farther away, pulled away. But Krista doesn't want to. She doesn't want to deal with that. Another story that shows up quite a bit is that of Charles Peck, and this one I remember.
Name is familiar.
This
to
one
me.
I remember when it happened.
Okay.
In September of 2000. Hang on a second. I have new glasses.
Yay!
But
they look the same as
they're
the
transitional
old ones?
lenses, so they're basically bifocals.
Okay.
So I'm having a really hard time adjusting to them.
Okay.
And what sucks is that I found out, like, I could have went up to the next tier glasses, but my insurance wouldn't have covered it. And those are the ones for computers.
Oh, yeah. That's
so
what you
it
need.
sucks because with these glasses, when I'm looking at my computer screen, the one or two words that I'm looking at are clear. Everything else is blurry.
That's weird.
Which sucks for researching the podcast.
Yeah.
So when I'm researching now, I have to use my old glasses, but I haven't been getting headaches. And I think the headaches stemmed from being like that all the time. Like when I drove here this morning, it was dark out, and I couldn't believe how much I could see as opposed to what I used to be able to see. So I think
just a little scary to think about.
Yeah, exactly. So I think my sight was so bad with those glasses. That's where the headache came from.
Interesting.
I don't think it was necessarily researching. So I still use my old glasses to research.
Okay.
But anyway, so you might hear me like pause or stammer or something. So I'm having a hard time still reading all this stuff.
Do you want the bigger light on?
No,
Okay.
I like our mood lighting here.
Me too.
It's not scary in here anymore now because the sun is up.
The sun is up.
So in September of 2008, 49-year-old Charles Peck went to Los Angeles, California to interview for a new job. He was a Delta customer service agent, but he wanted to work in Los Angeles since his fiancée, Andrea Katz, lived there, and the two didn't want to marry until they were living in the same state. Understandable.
Yeah.
At 4:22 p.m. on September 12th, the train he was on collided with a freight train in what came to be known as the Chatsworth crash. 135 people were injured and 25 people died.
What year?
2008.
Okay.
Charles Peck was among the ones killed in the accident. Andrea was on her way to pick Charles up from the train station when she heard the news about the crash on the radio.
Oh my God.
And that just makes my heart
It's
sink.
like my worst nightmare.
Yeah, I just can't even fathom what that's like.
Nope.
Peck's body was finally pulled from the wreckage 12 hours after the accident. The strange part is that for the 12 hours before his body was retrieved, his cell phone had placed a ton of calls to his loved ones. His fiancée, his son, his brother, his stepmother, and his sister all received calls from his phone. When they answered the phone, all they could hear was static, and if they called his number back, it went right to his voicemail. In total, Peck's family members and fiancée received 35 calls from his phone during the 11 hours after the accident. They thought he might still be alive in the wreckage and was trying to get a hold of them. The phone company was able to trace the signal to the first train car, and that's where his body was found. It was quickly determined, though, that he had been killed on impact.
What the heck?
So that's weird.
That's
but
really
the one
weird.
thing I'm skeptical about is how do they know that he was killed on
Instantly.
impact? Like
I mean,
100% certainty.
Usually they can tell that in an autopsy.
I didn't want to. I don't want to.
I said autopsy.
That was totally.
I'm from Wisconsin.
That was totally Wisconsin. I don't want to think about maybe he was decapitated. When they say that they knew with 100% certainty or whatever that he was killed on impact.
I think you can look at someone's injuries if you're a medical professional and determine that would have killed you instantly. I think that's what
but there's
do.
always a chance that it might not have. I don't know. But what was weird was
if he were so severely injured that he was killed, though, how could he make all those phone calls?
And also, why did it just go to voicemail?
And why did all they hear was static?
If he had the phone and was trying to make calls, it should have went back to him instead of instantly to going instantly to voicemail means your phone is shut off.
Right.
So I don't know. But
Does it mean you're on the phone? No.
I remember this story when it happened. I remember seeing this on the news when it happened.
I don't remember this. Interesting.
Yeah. So that's weird. I don't know what to make of that.
Could his phone have just gone into some weird, if it was smashed up, just start randomly dialing people?
But just his family
My
members?
phone has randomly started making calls on me before. Jim has butt dialed 911 on more than one occasion. Yes. I don't know. I think it's probably him reaching out to his family to say goodbye one last time.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. I don't know what to make of that one because I just don't get the 100% certainty that he died on impact.
I'm not a
and I hope he did because the thought of trying to get calls out
frantically.
Yeah, I don't
know.
Nope. Chris doesn't open.
Nope.
Chris doesn't open that one.
Moving on.
This next one isn't ghostly, but this one is one that I have wanted to do since we started the podcast. This is one that I love this story because it is so weird. It's really bizarre. And that is the story of Bashir Khashoggi. I remember seeing this.
Fun name to say.
I remember. Yeah, I'm just going to refer to him as Bashir because
why not Chachi?
Khashoggi is hard to pronounce. But I remember seeing this on Unsolved Mysteries back in the 80s or 90s and just being completely freaked out by this story.
Okay.
Most of this
in our book, don't we have an Unsolved Mysteries book or something like that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Most of this comes from an article in the Los Angeles Times from August 19th, 1992, and from the Unsolved Mysteries website. So, Bashir Khashoggi was born in Syria and raised in Lebanon. In the 70s, he was working as a writer for a weekly paper in Beirut when he fell in love with an American singer and the two of them were married. After moving to the United States and becoming a citizen, Bashir worked at several New York restaurants. On the evening of June 30th, 1974, Bashir and his wife were in Beirut where she had been booked for a job. She had been invited to sing at a women-only party thrown by a Saudi princess.
Oh.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
I want to meet a princess. Bashir said that he would pick her up at 11:30, but 11:30 came and went, and she was nowhere to be found. After waiting until 1 o'clock a.m., Bashir left, wondering if he had the wrong address. He pulled away, and turning the corner, a car swerved at him, blocking the road. 4 men with machine guns jumped out. They pulled him out of his car, tied him up, threw him in the backseat of their car, and drove off. Not a good situation.
No.
Bashir was taken to a Palestinian refugee camp. His captors, believing he was someone else, refused to accept his explanations, and he was thrown into a windowless room in a basement with only one light and a blanket on the floor. He would often hear screaming coming from what he assumed were other people being held in the basement. Over the next 5 days, he was questioned every 2 hours, beaten, and threatened by men holding guns in his face. Bashir attempted to kill himself by taking a small plastic bowl and scratching his wrist with it, finally tearing open the wound with his teeth.
Oh my God, that's the most horrifying part of the story so far.
Yeah. His kidnappers found him lying in a pool of blood, but still alive. They took him to a hospital where a doctor patched him up. While at the hospital, Bashir managed to contact his mother through an orderly. His mother called the American embassy, and the Lebanese government ended up giving him a release. So he was released from...
Thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly.
They have the wrong guy anyway.
Yep. Documents that Bashir eventually obtained under the Freedom of Information Act indicated he was kidnapped by a rogue faction of the PLO, which was, I think, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which mistakenly believed that he was a CIA agent.
Oh.
And he even said that's understandable because he's there in a really nice car from America by the prince, so it's kind of understandable that they would think that he's a CIA agent. Bashir and his wife opened a restaurant called the Marrakesh in Philadelphia, and it quickly became very successful. In the early 1980s, he and his wife decided to open another Marrakesh restaurant in Washington, D.C. A phone was installed in the Washington, D.C. Marrakesh during construction, and calls immediately started coming in. Bashir would pick up the phone, and there would be no answer at the other end, but there would be the sound of breathing and someone holding the phone. This happened several times. He finally decided to put in an answering machine. Soon, Bashir started getting messages consisting of weird laughter and someone making tisk-tisk sounds. Yeah. The restaurant opened, and then the calls really started coming in.
It's funny how that's like the universal,
like bad.
every
Like
culture,
you were
whatever
bad.
language
Yep.
everybody knows what means.
Bad. The restaurant opened, and then the calls really started coming in. The caller spoke in a child's voice, calling themselves I don't know how to, I'm not good at pronouncing this, but it's L''ENFENT. I think Unsolved Mysteries pronounced it L'Enfant.
Like a French name?
It's a French word for the child.
Oh.
So I'm just going to say L'Enfant.
So this person referred to themselves as the child.
Yes, I think it's L'Enfant.
Sure.
In French, but I'm just going to call it L'Enfant because that's a lot easier.
It's Wisconsin. It's okay. L'Enfant.
That is, yeah. The caller spoke in a child's voice, calling themselves L'Enfant, giggling into the phone while gunfire and screams of what sounded like people being tortured could be heard in the background, reminding Bashir of his time being held prisoner. Sometimes the person calling would just giggle and hang up. Sometimes the voice would be that of an old lady or a Middle Eastern man. Sometimes the person would make pornographic threats, and sometimes they would just tell whoever answered the phone that they were going to be murdered that night. Sometimes in the background of the calls, there would be screaming, the sound of several people crying or laughing, the sound of machine gun fire, or other bizarre sounds. For the most part, though, the voice was that of the child. The caller also started mentioning the names of Bashir's old friends and acquaintances that he hadn't seen in years. And this wasn't like a once-in-a-while thing. This was all the time. For example, according to the phone company, on July 14th, 1987, calls from L'Enfant came in at 9:53 a.m., 9:54 a.m., 11:23 a.m., 11:24 a.m., 11:32 a.m., 1:19 p.m., 3:32 p.m., 2 p.m., 3:12 p.m., 4:12 p.m., 4:13 p.m., 4:16 p.m., 4:58 p.m., and 9:25 p.m.
Well, could they see what the phone number was then?
I don't think they had caller ID.
What year was it?
1987.
Oh, yeah, probably not. They can see what time all the calls are coming in, but they can't see the phone number.
The voicemail or that. But that was
That's messed up.
I don't think they could see what times,
number.
but the phone company investigated this, and the phone company saw what times these calls were coming in.
Well, that's why I'm asking why the phone company couldn't see what the number was.
The phone company could. We'll get to that in a second.
Oh, okay.
The average would be 15 to 20 calls every day.
I'd change my number.
He did. Sometimes
I'd
Bashir...
unplug my phone.
But it's a restaurant. You need your phone.
Word of mouth.
Sometimes Bashir would leave town to visit the Marrakesh restaurant in Philadelphia, and when he did, the calls would immediately start coming in there.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Then, as soon as he walked back into the D.C. Marrakesh restaurant, the phone would start ringing. So that's weird.
It's like he's being watched.
Yeah. They did like a recreation of the voice, what the calls were like on Unsolved Mysteries, and that freaked me out more than anything. Like hearing this kid's voice giggle and just keep saying L'Enfant, and then in the background you could hear shooting and screaming.
This has a gang stalking feel to it.
We're gonna get we're gonna get to that.
Sorry.
For more than 2 years, both the FBI and the telephone company attempted to trace where the calls were coming from. At one point, they logged more than 3,000 threatening calls over an 18-month period.
Oh, my God.
They could not identify the caller, but they said that a large number of payphones in the Washington, D.C. area were involved, and that sometimes calls that would come in a minute or two after each other would be from phones on the opposite sides of the city, indicating that there was some sort of organized effort going on. And right there sounds like gang stalking. That totally sounds like gang stalking.
I'm picturing
But it was always the kid's voice. That's what people
creepy.
Can't figure out, that it was always L'Enfant.
Like, why would a kid be in on this?
I don't know. They think it was somebody making a kid's voice. It had to be because Why not make it as creepy as possible, I guess.
I'm picturing like a room in a war zone or a war, a third world country where war is normal.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, hey, just randomly call this number and mess with the guy on the other end.
But no, these were from payphones around Washington, D.C.
So they were coming from inside the country.
Yes, they were coming from Washington, D.C. Like one call, like there would be another call like 10 minutes after one, and it would be on the completely opposite side of the city that they don't think somebody could get to that quickly. So it is
and
like
where are the sounds of the machine guns and
don't know.
screaming
Nobody
coming
knows
from?
No, they had to be recorded, and they were playing the recording into the phone.
Wow. That's elaborate.
Yeah. Employees of his restaurant constantly quit or would refuse to answer the phone, and one even had a nervous breakdown and had to be hospitalized.
Oh, jeez.
Bashir would change the phone number, and the calls would literally immediately start coming in on the new number. Like, that's what I can't figure out is how...
Right. It seems like what's happening is impossible.
Yeah. In 1987, Bashir had a mental breakdown and checked himself into the psychiatric ward of the local hospital.
Don't blame the guy.
He would go back there on and off so much for the rest of his life that he basically rented a room there.
Did he get the calls there?
I don't know. Somebody on one of the Reddit things asked that, and nobody seemed to know. Somebody said that they heard that he did get the calls there.
Because that would be messed up.
Yeah. Somebody says that they remember... They lived in this area, so they remember reports that he was also getting the calls when he was in the
You're trying to
mental
get away
institution.
from it.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
While Bashir was in the hospital, his temporary replacement at the restaurant, Raj Tooley, became the target of the harassment. LaFont threatened to kill him and claimed to know his address and his schedule. 3 weeks after Raj started getting the calls, his son Richard was walking home from school when two men approached him asking him if he was Richard. When he responded that he was, they brutally beat him. Later that day, LaFont called Raj to tell him that they had attacked his son. The next day, someone had painted the words, "Richard will die," on the front door of Raj's home.
So he hasn't gotten any of these calls at home? Only at the
I don't
restaurant?
know. Apparently not. The calls finally started slowing down around 1990, almost 10 years from the day they started. In 1993, they were still getting 6 to 7 calls a week. Nobody ever found out what was going on or what the calls were about.
Do they think it's connected to him being...
They think so. Bashir felt it had something to do with the time he was held prisoner.
Yeah, oh, okay.
But nobody was really sure.
Wow, I'm really good at that.
Yeah, you are. But nobody was really sure. Journalist Louis Beale suspects that one of Bashir's abductors may have been someone that later became a politician in Lebanon, eventually moving to Washington, D.C., and harassing Bashir in an attempt to get him to leave the area so he could not identify them, but that also doesn't make a lot of sense. Even as the calls slowed down and then stopped in the mid-90s, after almost 15 years of the phone calls, the voice of LaFont never changed. One of the employees at the restaurant said, quote, "LaFont should have grown up by now, but it's still the same exact voice."
Unless it's like a woman disguising her voice.
Yeah. So that's the story.
Or a man.
That's the story of Bashir. And that
Good
was...
Lord.
I remember that on Unsolved Mysteries, and that freaked me out
That's really
so
creepy.
much. But...
Because it sounds like either a whole bunch of people were in on this or things were happening that aren't possible.
But then people said there's things that don't make sense. Like the guy, his replacement son was beaten. Why didn't they ever physically do anything to Bashir? Why wasn't he ever attacked?
Right.
They said the only thing that they can think of that happened was one day he went out from work and his car, somebody had scratched a bunch of Stars of David in his car. But...
Interesting.
But why this? Why were they doing this? And why did they not...
Why attack his kid?
Why attack that Raj's kid?
Right.
Why not attack Bashir if they wanted him out of the country? There's like no logic behind what they were doing unless they were trying to make him crazy.
But
there were a lot of interviews with people that worked at the restaurant, and they said it was just... he would go run downtown and come back, and whoever was working would be like, L'Enfant called 5 times while you were out. So it was just like a common thing there that was just bizarre.
That would make me crazy.
That would make me crazy,
Literally,
too, because I hate talking on the phone as it is.
Yeah, I don't like it really either.
No, but I love this story. This is like one that I've always wanted to talk about, and it's fascinating. And
it's disturbing.
Nobody knows what the deal was with LaFont, why he was getting these phone calls.
Huh. I wonder if with today's technology, if it were happening now, we'd have answers.
Yeah, I'm sure we would.
With GPS locating and all that.
Cell phones and technology have changed a lot of stuff to do with getting calls. But and I remember if you can find the segment of the Unsolved Mysteries about this on YouTube, it's really, really interesting. And like I said, they do the recreation of the calls, and it's just creepy. Like you hear LaFont just giggling, like a kid giggling in the phone, and then there's gunfire and screaming, and there's like a weird clanging sound that plays every now and then.
And the reason that I would make a connection to him being held hostage
is because of the screaming.
Whatever.
Because
and
the screams,
machine guns,
yeah,
and
like the screams.
Where he was when he was held
said
captive.
that the screams like reminded him of being held captive there,
and in a country where war is probably.
But then why did somebody come here, and why were they doing this to him in Washington, D.C.?
I don't know. Especially since they had the wrong person to begin with.
Exactly. So it makes no sense.
I mean, it'd be different if he were the person they were looking for and he got away.
Wasn't.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so that is the weird story of Bashir Khashoggi.
Interesting. Creepy.
Yeah, it's very creepy. So I'm going to skip the next story because we're actually running a little long.
Okay.
The next story was just like a basic, it's really short too. And it was just that this lady passed away.
Could you read it in the time that it's taken you to explain it to me?
It's not even that great of a story because I couldn't really corroborate it with any other, but it was basically from England, and it was about this lady that died and was buried with her cell phone, and then her family started to receive text messages that
Why
they said
was she
would
buried
only
with her cell phone.
I love my cell phone. You know how attached I am to my cell phone.
You want to be buried with it?
Yeah, I want to be buried with it. No, I don't, because that's creepy. Because that opens up all kinds
I'm just gonna call you like
creepy phone call things. But then the family started supposedly receiving text messages using words that only she would use. But there was only like one or two articles I could find about this.
Once you freak out, like I'd go and dig her up. Like, what if she's still alive down there? People get buried alive. It happens.
They do, and that's one of my biggest fears. But there were like two newspapers in England that had this, and I couldn't really find other, to back it up. So I don't even think, I think it's kind of like a sketchy story. So we're just going to skip that one.
But they were in newspapers?
Like tabloidish newspapers.
Right. That's so creepy to even think about.
So now this is a story that showed up on lipstickalley.com, which is like kind of like a gossipy website, but they have like a forum where people can talk about whatever.
Okay.
And this is by the user named Incognito, and neat is N-E-A-T. So I think incognito is a cool word.
Cute.
So my fiance works long hours, and I tend to stay home and keep the house in order unless I have other things going on, so I spend most of my time at home. Well, for the last 4 or 5 days, I've been completely by myself because he had to travel for his job, and something weird has been going on. The first night I was alone, I got a phone call at exactly 10:36 at night from an unknown phone number, and when I answered it, it was just silence for about 10 seconds. Then I heard somebody grunt, whisper under their breath, and then hang up.
Okay, here's the thing.
Krista's already shaking
So
her
here's
head.
the thing. Don't answer unknown phone calls.
No.
You just don't do it.
Exactly.
Problem solved.
Yeah. So she heard a grunt, and then they whispered something under their breath and hung up.
Nope.
I didn't think much of it because our phone number is listed on Google as the number of a local business. I've been trying to get it changed, but it's hard to figure out, so I'm used to getting random phone calls from people all the time asking for this business. I thought maybe it was something to do with that, and I didn't think anything else for the rest of the night. The next night, there was the same phone call at the exact same time. When I answered the phone this time, nobody said anything. I said hello like 40 times, getting angrier each time. So I hang up the phone and I go about my business that night feeling pretty freaked out. I called my fiance at this point and told him what was going on. He thought it was weird but told me to try not to think about it and just go to sleep. The third night, at the exact same time, I got a phone call, and this time when I answer and say hello, I hear someone talking on the other end, but I can't make out what they're saying, so I say, "What?" Then all of a sudden, a male voice screams into the phone, "I'm outside."
Nope.
As if I was supposed to know who was calling. So at this point, I'm thinking one of my friends might be trying to stop by. So fear wasn't really a factor at this point.
Friends are jerks.
So at this point, fear wasn't really a factor at this point, and I went outside my apartment to see if anybody was there waiting to be let in. Keep in mind, I live in a small town in Canada, so fear of the unknown and going outside alone really isn't something that we worry about here.
They leave their doors unlocked.
Well, here's where it starts to get a little freaky. I go outside of my apartment and look around, and there's no one there. It's been snowing where I live, so I thought maybe they thought I didn't hear them, and they decided to go back to their car. I walked down a little well-lit path that leads to my parking lot and quickly checked the area to see if there were any headlights on. Just as I think there's nothing around and I'm about to walk back into my apartment, I see a silhouette of a person standing silently underneath a tree in my backyard.
No.
No.
This didn't happen.
My first my first instinct is to be terrified and run, but the more rational side of me thinks that this is just somebody who lives here having a cigarette or letting their dog out to pee. So instead of bolting, I just walked back in and forgot about it. The mental picture of somebody just standing underneath a tree silently
in the snow
at
night in the dark
creeps me out like no other.
Was there a dog nearby?
So the fourth night, at the exact same time, I once again get a phone call. This time it's not from an unlisted number, but from my buzzer system at the front door. So over the PA, I ask who it is. I get no response, just the wind sound outside from my building. Normally, I would just buzz a person in because sometimes my neighbors forget their keys, but after the last couple nights, I was feeling cautious and decided to just hang up. 2 minutes go by and suddenly I hear an explosive pounding on my apartment door. It scared the crap out of me and I nearly jumped out of my skin. You're really freaking out about this, aren't you?
People are scary.
I know. I checked my peephole to look through and who it was, but it looked like they were holding their finger over it.
Oh God, no.
At this point,
Call cops.
At this point, I immediately locked my deadbolt and I ran to my bedroom to call my fiance. Unfortunately, because of his long hours, he wasn't able to answer the phone, so I had to call my mom and she came over to get me because I was too scared to be alone.
Why wouldn't you call the police?
I slept at her house for 2 nights and decided I should go home to be with my cats.
Oh,
sounds like me.
Poor Kit Kats.
Everything was fine and I forgot about the whole thing until that night at 10:36 p.m. when the phone started ringing. My heart was pounding and I was about to call the police from my cell phone when it stopped ringing. I checked who called and it was my front door again. At this point, I was scared senseless. She didn't use senseless. She used another word. I was scared senseless, and I called my mom and asked her to come get me again, but she was on the other side of town with my sister and her newborn baby, so she couldn't make it for a couple hours. She recommended that I call the cops and that she would be there as soon as she could, so I did. The police came and I filed a report, but the entire time they gave me the impression that they either didn't believe me or they weren't taking it very seriously.
That's got to be the worst feeling in the world.
That night, I slept with a knife under my mattress. As I'm writing this message now, it's 6 o'clock a.m. and I just woke up. I went into my kitchen, which is right beside my front door, for a glass of water, and I found that a note had been slid under my door. It literally only has these 5 words written on it. Why can't I come in?
Oh my God.
I'm now sitting here waiting for the police to come back because I'm absolutely terrified and I don't know what else to do. I know I'm safe behind my locked door, but it's so creepy and weird and nothing like this has ever happened to me or anyone I know. I'm not even sure why I'm posting this here because I know y'all can't really help me and I've already taken the necessary steps, but I guess I just want some reassurance and camaraderie while I sit here alone. Has anything like this ever happened to any of you? So that story freaked me out, so I wanted to put that in here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's like
a horror movie thing.
Yes. That's why I mean, I live in a great area.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my neighbors and I still don't like being home alone at night because of stuff like this.
That's a stuff.
I was stuff like this.
I know. I saw that.
That's my worst fear is a knock on my door at night when I'm home alone.
Like the frantic banging. The person standing under the tree creeps me out more than anything. Like the silhouette of the person.
The person holding their finger over the peephole.
And then slipping the note under the door saying, why can't I come in?
Yeah, intentionally not letting you see who's there. Yeah. That is messed up.
That is messed up.
And our house has these huge picture windows on the front, and our front door has these diamond windows. So there's no hiding from who's out there. We need to get a new door.
Yeah, you would just see like the hazy silhouette of somebody standing there.
I mean, we have a light. Yeah. I could turn on the light, but...
So I put that in there because that story freaked me out.
That's really creepy.
Yep.
Huh. I'd like to think it's just some wacko who has the wrong apartment and the wrong number.
But
why don't they just say something?
There's weird stuff about it. So yeah.
Nope.
We ready?
I'll post that later. Yep. Ready, Freddie?
Okay.
Ready? Okay.
Okay. What's that from?
It's cheerleading.
Oh.
Before every cheer, that's what you do.
We took a little break. I made some more coffee. Went pee.
Turn the light on.
Krista MacGyvered something really cool because I'm having a problem reading my notes because they keep like tipping over. And I can't get them to stand up on my laptop so I can read them. And Krista came up with the idea of using one of the candy canes to hold it up.
They're good for something.
They are good for something. So thank you, Jamie. This next one is kind of dumb, but I love this one because this is my kind of story. Okay. This is like my kind of weirdness. And this is like almost the phone call version of Captain Coochie's Key Lime Pies.
I knew you were going to bring up Coochie's Key Lime Pies.
I love my Captain Coochie story.
I know you do.
So this is a story of Paulinda /Gabby/Laura.
Oh.
And this all kind of sprouted from a Reddit post that was titled, "Gym Owners, Are You Getting a Very Bizarre Phone Call?" And the person wrote, "I am getting phone calls from a girl who sounds doped out of her mind, claiming to be a brown belt from a Gracie Barra school," which I believe is a jiu-jitsu school.
Okay.
These are like karate gyms, but basically like jiu-jitsu gyms. This girl just tries to ramble on the phone as much as she can. A few other gyms I know are getting it too. I'm just trying to gauge it and to see the scope of it. And it just blew up from there that all of these gym owners from everywhere all of a sudden posted, and they're like, "Oh my God, we've been getting these for years, these calls from this person." Yeah. So somebody that responded said, "Laura/Gabby has been calling our martial arts/CrossFit gym in Washington, D.C. for months now. She uses the same story about being a Gracie Barra brown belt and seems desperate to ask as many questions as possible. The longer you entertain her questions, the stranger the questions get. She has called from several different numbers that we've had blocked. She just called again this morning from a different number." Another one said, "We've been getting calls from her in Boulder, Colorado for as long as I've been working here, 3 years. I've talked to the Gracie Barra school in Colorado Springs, and they said she's been calling them along with schools in California and Texas. Whenever a male employee answers, she says wrong number or hangs up. She has a weird voice and even weirder questions." Somebody else says, "She has called my coach multiple times over here in Ireland. She has claimed to be a black belt and a brown belt, and that she received her brown belt in England and then in Poland on different occasions. Very strange stuff, whatever is going on."
So she'll only talk to women?
Apparently, yeah.
Okay.
Somebody else responded and said she's been calling our jiu-jitsu school in Idaho for years. After finding out other people are receiving calls from her, it was such a relief. She would only speak to me and not my husband, and she always calls me lady. Over probably a 5-year span, she has used at least 6 different names and just as many different phone numbers. We received a call from her just last week, and it's actually coming up Paulinda, which makes it easier not to answer. To anyone that is frustrated, I feel you, but just know you're not alone. For years, I thought it was just our school being targeted."
What are the questions she asked?
We'll get into
okay, good.
a couple of those. "I hope someday somebody figures out who the heck it is or puts a stop to this person." So, in a December 21st, 2017 article on the Jiu-Jitsu Times website called, quote, "Gyms across the country are receiving bizarre phone calls from a woman named Paulinda," the article says, "The phone calls have been going on for 4 years and were brought to light on the internet about a year ago when Reddit threads began popping up mentioning phone calls from a woman who either went by the name Laura, Gabby, or Paulinda and claimed to be a Gracie Barra brown belt from locations ranging from Florida to Poland and seemingly everywhere in between. Most recently, she's been going by the name Paulina or Paulinda. Paulinda's phone calls have become almost an underground joke and a rite of passage in the jiu-jitsu community thanks to their consistent and bizarre nature. She calls gyms, cites her ranks, and starts asking questions that steadily get more outlandish in nature. One constant question involves asking if she's allowed to wear thong underwear while training. She would then become irate and often begin yelling and accusing the person who took the call of being a racist or sexist before hanging up. Many gym owners said that she'll also threaten to call the police on them or accuse them of harassment, even though she's the one calling and harassing them. Multiple academy owners have reported dealing with the issue for years. Paulinda appears to be just one person judging by her voice, but uses different phone numbers from all over the world, so blocking one usually has no effect. Hanging up on her sometimes results in her immediately calling back even angrier than before. So many people recommend ensuring that she's the one to hang up, whether that means just letting her wear herself out or getting her to cut the call short by other means.
Just set the phone down and
Exactly.
walk away.
Well, that's what people have done. Academy owners who have dealt with her have tried multiple ways to get her to stop calling, including blowing a loud air horn into the phone, trolling her back with even more ridiculous questions, or simply putting a male student or instructor on the phone since she refuses to speak to men. It is unsure what this woman's motive is, but thus far it doesn't seem like she's trying to scam people out of money or physically harm anyone, even though there have been threats. However, you can never be too careful, especially considering the fact that this is not typical behavior of someone who's mentally stable.
Right.
And phone harassment is a misdemeanor in many states. If you begin receiving calls from this woman, consider filling out a police report. And then other comments that I've read under these threads say, she said things like she can only train if she wears thong underwear and she has pink jiu-jitsu shoes and wants to know if they're okay. And she says she's a brown belt but needs an introduction. Some days she talks clearly and other days she sounds garbled or strung out. We get to a point where we are no longer amused and will try anything to get her to stop calling, like answering in another language or just hanging up when we realize it's her from the phone number, which she changes every few weeks. We had enough last week, and when we pointed out that we know that it's her calling to waste our time, she starts screaming that we're harassing her and she's calling the cops, and she's not afraid of us. Let me tell you, we've called the FBI and we've been tracking her in the hopes that will never be the news story of a crazy chick who one day attacks a jiu-jitsu school because we wouldn't entertain her calls. I don't know what her end game is, but this girl is completely insane.
I think that's the answer.
Yeah. Somebody else said, there's a Facebook group that I belong to in which gym owners or their wives in the U.S., Canada, England, and Australia have been contacted by a woman who identifies as a brown belt and asks questions about the gym but doesn't seem to have clear intent with the phone call other than to keep the other person on the line. She's gone by the names Laura, Gabby, RJ, and who knows what else.
Did it say that some of the numbers she was calling from originated all over the world?
Yeah.
How's that possible?
I don't know. Unless she's...
Some kind of hacker.
I don't know. Somebody else says we're located in Pennsylvania and she's called our school in the past and she's recently asked just to speak with females. I am one of them. We sometimes use our personal phones to call clients off hours, and when I used mine to call her, she proceeded to call my personal phone back 15 different times with the questions getting stranger and stranger, ranging from what type of underwear she should wear under her uniform to threats like when I told her I was done talking to her, she told me she was going to put me in a knee lock and break my bones. Somebody else said Paulinda calls our academy in Arizona at least twice a week. The story is the same as others have reported. She's a 3-striped Gracie Bear, a brown belt, wanting to know if she can wear a thong. She gave an account of knee barring a male brown belt and broke his knee. This girl is obviously not well. It's all very creepy. At first I thought it was kind of funny, but now I'm just scared. Somebody else responded and said, the creepiest part, I answered as Jessica with my married last name. She replied with my maiden name, which is not disclosed anywhere. That's creepy.
Yeah.
That's very creepy.
I mean, you can find just about anything online.
Yeah.
So is she like looking?
Yeah, I don't
these
know.
people
Somebody else
up?
said, I've had the pleasure of speaking with Ashley/Gabby/Laura/Paulinda for 2 or 3 years. I started answering the phone silently, picking it up and saying nothing, and came to a startling revelation one day when I heard a male voice say, hello, hello. And then when I replied, the voice switched to the female voice of Paulinda. So
like
creepy.
It was the same person?
Yeah.
Or there were two people?
Like it was the same person. And this person said, so creepy.
What if they have like multiple personality disorder or something?
And then somebody else said, my instructor gets this too, and with his permission, I'm going to tell you his theory. He has friends in gyms on the East Coast that get this call as well, while his gym is in the West Coast, so it sounds like a ton of people get these calls. After I showed him this thread, it seemed to confirm his hypothesis. He believes that it's not just one person, but it's a group that's been hired by an organization to troll the competitors of its members. He believes that the sheer volume is just too much for one mentally disturbed person. Because of the accent that this girls have, he believes that she is a globally outsourced call center who calls us during their office hours, which is our evening class times. He said that they bank on the fact that most gyms would be very patient and polite for a potential girl who is colored. Once they catch on, and even after they try to ignore these calls, the fact that she keeps calling them becomes a nuisance in their phone system. To quote my coach, it's like a form of Chinese water torture, harmless but very annoying over time. What group would do this, you may ask? To those who have been on the forums for a few years, you might remember a group who taught gyms how to start, quote, internet assassination campaigns. Our coach was a victim of one, and he thinks that it's a group behind this. I actually kind of believe him for one reason. If it's an individual, she doesn't need to keep changing her number because all she needs to do is keep calling new gyms. However, the fact that the number changes so quickly and repeatedly and it's the same girl indicates that she's actively reaching out to all these gyms.
Well, and that's how those call centers work. The numbers change all the time.
But it's just weird. I mean, this is just, like I said, it's like the phone thing with Captain Coochie.
It's like reverse gang stalking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not reverse, but like.
But then one of the last things that I found, which to me is the weirdest of all, is that one of the people in the Reddit threads said that she was calling from this number currently, but the number would change all the time. Mm-hmm. And they said she currently called me from this phone number. So I did a Google search on that phone number, and it took me to one of those sites, and this one was findwhocallsyou.com.
Yep.
And a couple people wrote on there that they're getting a harassing call from a brown belt lady. And then, like, right after they posted that, somebody went on there. They created, like, 6 different usernames. And they're all, like, the same basic message. The usernames that they created are federal agency, FC department, FC agency, and FOI. And this is one of the posts from the person that named themselves federal agency. This person wrote, "This number is an innocent number. This number is not involved in any comments which are posted on this page. This number is innocent and has no involvement with any of these comments which are stated here on this page. There have been reviews done by this comment which was posted. The comments are false and fake. This number is not involved with any of these comments. This number is innocent in all causes because the comments are bogus and false, which is to be removed from this page. This number has no involvement with these comments which are posted on this page."
Totally reminds me of Captain
And it's
Coochie's
totally
Key
like
Lime
Captain
Pie.
Coochie's. And the fact that this person went to this site, this find out who's calling you site, created 6 different
Like
accounts.
they Googled their own number.
They must have. And they created all these accounts, different accounts, and these are all the same thing, basically saying over and over, this
nothing
this
wrong with
number
this
is an
number.
innocent number. This is a fake
It's not a
report.
suspicious number.
And to me, that's more bizarre than anything, is that this person found their number in these
One of the many numbers.
one of the many numbers, and
I wonder
they
if you
created
Googled-
six different account names, like federal agency, to go on there, and it's always the same
Like a
thing.
federal agency would
I know,
comment
that's what
on
somebody
one of those
said,
things.
and it's just, I don't know, that spooks me more than anything, is that this person did this,
I
and
wonder
that's
if you
where
Googled any of the numbers, you'd find the same thing.
probably. But then this person also has time to go on, create all these different accounts, and then post things that
Maybe
just
it's
ramble
bots.
on about. So either it's a
Internet
gang
bots or
stalking
whatever?
thing, or this person is completely nuts.
That was my microphone. Yeah, I think it. Yeah,
But when they're saying that, I could see if it was like limited to one state, but when they're saying it's Australia, it's Ireland, it's England, it's all over the world that this person is calling these martial arts, it's just weird.
it's
So
weird.
that's-
I just don't get the purpose
no,
of it.
So that's why I love that one, because it's weird. So
yeah, that's a
Yep.
head scratcher for
Yes,
sure.
that is. Another story came from a Reddit user, and their name is the Halls of Terra, which I think is a really cool name, because I believe that's a reference to Gone with the Wind, because I think Terra was the mansion in Gone with the Wind. This user says, "Here's a story that I have not shared before because honestly, it creeps me out. I don't like thinking about it. I don't like the things it implies about the nature of the universe we inhabit, so it fills me with existential dread. It also happens to involve a friend's suicide, so it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to talk about. About 7 years ago, my friend Dave killed himself with a shotgun. Tragic though it wasn't much of a shock for those of us that knew him. He always had some serious issues with depression and has threatened to end his life many times before.
Jeez.
Add to this the fact that he had recently separated from his wife and moved back in with his brother and was using meth again.
Oh, well.
The writing was pretty much on the wall. About 3 weeks after his death, his widow, Jessica, who happens to be my best friend, came to see me. She was clearly upset. She shoves her cell phone into my hand and tells me that I need to hear this voicemail. She doesn't say anything else about it, so I listen to it. It was static, but underneath the static there was a voice. It sounded like it was coming from very far away and across a bad connection. It was Dave's voice. I would have recognized his baritone anywhere. And he was yelling my friend's name over and over, screaming, "Jessica, hey Jessica, hey Jessica." Hearing his voice, knowing that he was almost a month in the ground at this point, and the fact that he sounded so desperate and afraid made my blood run cold. I handed the phone back to Jessica and just kind of stared at her for a moment. "That was Dave," I finally said when I could speak. She said, "I know." The voicemail had apparently just shown up in her voicemail inbox with no record of a missed call and no phone number attached to it.
That's weird.
We both listened to it again 3 or 4 times just to be sure, but when Jessica went to show someone else a few days later, she was surprised to discover that it had deleted itself. It was gone. About a week or so after that, my ex-husband, Ivan, stopped by to drop off our son for a shared custody agreement. He had been Dave's best friend since childhood, so even though things were kind of tense between the two of us, I wanted to let him know how sorry I was and that he shouldn't blame himself for not being there. We talked about Dave for a few minutes. I mentioned the strange voicemail that Jessica had gotten. Far from being shocked like I expected he would, he simply nodded. "I got one too," he said. Same thing. Static, but his voice underneath that. Only he was screaming my name instead of Jessica's. And my phone actually showed that the voicemail and a few other missed calls came from Dave's cell phone. I never heard the phone ring, though, and this was all weeks after he died. I was pretty disturbed by this, so I began casting about for explanations. Was it possible that Dave's phone was still functioning? Maybe his brother was carrying it around in his back pocket and butt dialed. Maybe the family hadn't turned it off yet. I even rejected each explanation since he had already investigated these possibilities. Apparently, Dave's family had terminated his phone service within a couple days after his death. It should have been impossible for that phone to make any calls.
Well, why would it have been in his
I don't
voice
know.
if it were like...
I don't know.
A butt
I
dial.
asked Ivan if I could listen to his voicemail, but he shook his head. It's gone, he said. It just disappeared after a few days. So did the record of the missed calls from his number. I went to show them to somebody, and they were suddenly not there.
Oh, that's weird.
It's been many years, but thinking about that voicemail still makes me break out in goosebumps. It's frightening for many reasons. For one thing, I don't like thinking that my friend Dave, who was so tormented in life, would continue to be so in death. I don't like how he sounded in that voicemail. He sounded terrified. I struggle with depression myself, and there have been many times over the past few years when I have found myself staring over a literal or proverbial ledge, contemplating ending it all. But always the memory of that voicemail and of Dave's voice comes to me, and I talk myself down. Because wherever Dave was calling from, I don't want to end up there.
Oh, man.
So that's...
Wow.
That's...
I think he was calling from hell.
I don't know.
If that's a thing.
I don't know. But that's sad and scary and
wow.
disturbing.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So we're going to get to our last story. This was one that I was actually going to use a couple seasons ago for a mini mystery, but there's really not a whole lot about it.
So it's a mini mystery. Mini mystery.
It's a mini. Well, it would have been a good mini mystery because there's stuff, but there's not a whole lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And this is one that a lot of people might be familiar with. That is the voicemail of Henry McCabe.
Okay.
You're gonna know this one once we get into it.
Okay.
Once we play the sound clip, I think you're gonna know it. Henry McCabe was a 32-year-old Liberian immigrant who lived in Mounds View, Minnesota with his wife and 2 daughters. He worked as an auditor for the Minnesota Department of Revenue. On Sunday night, September 6, 2015, McCabe went to a nightclub called Povlitsky's with 2 friends, Calvin Johnson and William Kennedy. Povlitsky's totally sounds like a Wisconsin.
Place.
It sounds like a Wisconsin bar.
Polish bar.
Povlitsky's.
Yeah.
With 2 friends, Calvin Johnson and William Kennedy, while his wife and daughters were in California visiting some friends. Johnson and Kennedy later said that McCabe had been drinking quite a bit that night, so they hid his wallet and keys in an attempt to get him to slow down the drinking and make sure that he did not drive home.
Good call.
There's some speculation that McCabe was dealing with some depression and money stress at the time, which might account for the heavy drinking. After leaving the club at 2 o'clock a.m., Kennedy stated that McCabe asked to be dropped off at a Super America gas station that was near his home. After the later events, the police checked the video camera at that gas station, but there was no footage of Kennedy dropping him off there that night. It was eventually determined that Kennedy got the location wrong, and he had actually dropped him off at a gas station that was 2 miles away from his house. I don't know if that's where McCabe asked to be dropped off or if Kennedy dropped him off at the wrong place. I'm guessing they were all drunk. Mm-hmm. But there is video footage of him dropping him off at this other gas station.
Okay.
Not the original gas station.
So we know for sure.
So he did drop him off.
Okay.
There's also a lot of discrepancy about this next part as to who was called when. But by most accounts, around 2:30 a.m., McCabe's wife in California received a voicemail message from him. When she listened to it, it sounded like her husband's high-pitched screaming, strange growls, moaning, and him saying that he'd been shot. By some accounts, in a panic, she called Henry's brother Tom, but got his voicemail where she left a message and played the recording for him in her message. Only a few snippets of this voicemail recording have ever been heard publicly, and the ones that exist anymore are basically right now only in YouTube videos of news stories about the case. ABC News heard the complete recording and described it as, quote, 2 minutes of undecipherable noises, including what sounds like growls and moans of pain. Near the end of the voicemail, the sounds suddenly stop, and a voice can be heard saying, "Stop it." So we're going to play... Like I said, this clip is not, it's hard to find. The only place you can find it now is if you YouTube it, you're going to see it's almost always the same news story where they play just this one portion of the voicemail. Okay. So this, I actually downloaded this from a Russian site. Oh. Because I could not find it. I could not find a good, clean copy of this voicemail anywhere.
You know they're watching you now, right?
Yeah, I know. That's okay. So this is just a small segment of what the voicemail from him sounded like. And Krista will play that right now.
What?
I don't.
It almost sounds like he's in water.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second.
Oh,
but that was part of the voicemail. Nobody has, except for the news, that
nobody's heard the full one.
Nobody's heard the full one, or They don't know whose voice can be heard to say stop it at the end. They
is
don't know
like-
if it's his. They don't know if it's somebody else. But play it again. This is part of the voicemail that was left.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that last, we were talking as we were listening to it, and Kurt thinks it says help me at the very end.
It sounds like him saying help me. There's like
But
that
in,
weird
like, this-
gurgling.
Yeah, this crazy, like, he's dying. Like, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my God, that's horrifying.
Yep.
Could you imagine getting a voicemail
No, I
like
could
that of your
not.
loved one?
I could not. So going back to this, ABC News heard a complete
Ugh.
recording and described it as 2 minutes of undecipherable noises, including what sounds like growls and moans of pain. Near the end of the voicemail, the sounds suddenly stop and a voice can be heard saying, "Stop it." His wife, Corrine McCabe, said, quote, "I try to picture where he was and what it might have been like, what circumstances would have made him sound like that. And I don't know. When Henry didn't call anyone again and didn't show up for work the next day, a missing persons report was filed. Search and rescue missions went on for weeks, but there were no traces found of McCabe. Then, on November 22nd, McCabe's body was discovered in Rush Lake, 4 miles from the gas station he was dropped off at. There were no gunshot wounds or injuries of any kind on his body, so the cause of death was determined to be drowning. The FBI got involved with the case, which was kind of strange, and that's just kind of where it ends. Nobody really knows what happened.
There's a part right at the beginning of the voice or of the clip that we have that to me sounds like his face is partially submerged in water.
But why is he... It doesn't... Why would he have his phone out?
Maybe he like was able to dial her number and the phone got knocked out of his hand.
It's possible. I guess it's possible. A lot of people suspected his friend that dropped him off for a little while because his friend actually still had McCabe's house keys. That he didn't even give him his keys back.
Yeah, but if they were all drunk.
Yeah. And, people have speculated that he maybe had a key hidden outside. Like you have that key hidden outside your front mat for your house.
That's not a thing. There's no mat there either.
But they thought maybe he had a hidden key outside.
Wow.
So, and I don't know. There's a couple different theories. One of the theories is that he was killed by his friend, but then they found the footage of his friend actually dropping him off at that gas station and walking away.
Huh.
So
there's a portion of the voicemail where he claims he was shot.
Yeah, and he wasn't.
He wasn't shot.
No, there were no wounds on him, which is weird.
That's weird.
And somebody said...
It's like this voicemail was almost intended to misdirect.
Possibly. But what kind of sucks is that we have not heard the voice saying "stop it" at the end. People speculate... Okay, there's one of the theories is that he was one of the smiley face murders.
Oh, yes.
Which we're gonna have
I heard notes of that throughout.
Which we're gonna have an episode on maybe this season, but basically it's a theory that there's a killer or a group of killers that are drowning drunken college students,
young men.
And painting a smiley face or leaving smiley face as graffiti near the area.
So where did this take place again?
This was in Minnesota. And it's kind of near because a lot of them are Wisconsin.
Mississippi.
Yeah. So there's theories that he was a smiley face murder victim. There's another theory that states he was murdered, and a couple people have said the part where he's gurgling weird sounds like when you get
blood.
tased.
Oh, interesting.
That somebody speculates that he might have been tased, and some people even think he may have been waterboarded in the back of somebody's truck, tortured and killed because you're a serial killer and you're nuts. And there's the other two theories are a Sasquatch attack, which I don't really...
I think there'd be injuries.
Yeah.
He was just drowned.
Yeah, but there's that animalistic growling or whatever.
To me, that doesn't sound like growling. It sounds like...
Drowning. Like
drowning, yes. It sounds like his face is
Yep.
half underwater and there's water getting,
And, of course, one of the people that have looked into this is David Politis with Missing 411.
I don't know that this really ties into Missing
No, but
411,
he ties it into Missing 411 because of the bizarre voicemail.
Circumstances, yeah.
So people don't know what happened. Some people think he maybe killed himself, but if you're going to kill yourself, why would you leave that really disturbing voicemail
to haunt your family and friends?
But it's like if he got in water and had the presence of mind to get his phone out and do this, couldn't he have gotten himself out of the water?
Not if he was being murdered.
Not if he was being murdered.
Right. The whole voice at the end that says stop it almost lends more to the theory that the voicemail was meant as misdirection.
Yeah, but
you're going to call your family and tell them you've been
people think
shot.
that he might have been having a psychotic break, and that the voice might have been him telling himself to stop it to cool
Could be.
off.
Could be. Yeah.
Or it could have been a murderer saying stop it. There's really no there's like no audio footage of this of the stop it. So this is basically all that we know is this one clip of this call. And to this day, they don't know what happened. They just determined it's death by drowning.
It's a head scratcher.
But I don't know. So that's kind
disturbing.
That's kind of a popular.
If that were the last thing I heard of my husband,
oh God, I could not. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. Literally, can't imagine what that's like.
No.
To know that your loved one, whatever was going on, was going on. Yeah. So yeah,
I don't even want to think about that.
That is a story of Henry McCabe.
I'm going to call my husband as soon as we leave here.
Don't gurgle on the phone.
No. Wow.
So that's it.
Wow.
That's what I got for strange phone calls.
These are all really good.
I thought they were. I didn't, some of them like the jiu-jitsu school one I just did because I find that really fascinating.
Yeah.
Like it's so bizarre.
It's a mystery.
That I find that fascinating.
Yeah,
and
totally.
The Henry McCabe one shows up a lot in like paranormal podcasts or unexplained podcasts.
I've never heard of the story
But a lot of
before.
people try to tie it into whatever their thing is. Like some people that are into Bigfoot try to tie it into a Bigfoot attack. People that are into missing 411 try to tie it into a missing 411 case.
Smiley face killers.
Smiley face killers. I don't know. I honestly don't know what I think.
That's the closest
one
and
there's
me.
people that say that his wife changed her story a couple times. She was in California. And people said that the guy that dropped him off, his friend, kind of changed his story a couple times. So people don't know, but there is the footage of him dropping him off. Right. Did he drop him off and then follow him
up
into the woods and kill him?
Right.
But then why are there no signs of physical trauma?
He was really drunk, though.
Yeah.
You know how easy it is to drown when you're drunk?
I know. That's one of the things that comes up in the smiley face murders is that it's very easy to, to fall into a body of water and drown when you're drunk.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's some strange
Drink
phone calls.
responsibly, kids.
Yes, please do.
Wow. This is good stuff. Yeah. I think we started off the season 4 with a bang.
Good. And this is what you guys wanted. This is what people voted
you
like
asked
crazy.
for it.
I was not expecting this one to win, but I'm glad it did. So there you go.
All right. Good.
Or should we do a question?
Yeah, let's do a question. We have to do a question. Okay. We have to start the season with Should I start with a pickle joke?
No, we always end with a pickle. We'll do the question
joke.
first.
Okay. Our first question,
and it's a very easy. It's a very easy question.
Yeah.
And it just says, we don't have a lot of questions in our bank. So if you guys want to ask us some questions, we have a QOOH account, and I think there's a link to it somewhere
on our Facebook page.
Yeah. Even if you
even the strangers, I think our regular Facebook page.
If you don't want to mess around with going to that, and you just want to like Facebook message me
or Gmail
us a question, please go ahead.
Instagram, whatever.
So this is a very basic question, and it's one of my favorite topics in the world. The question is, what are your favorite foods? Love, Anna. I wonder if that's Anna Banana?
Anna Banana. Oh, that sounds like an Anna Banana.
So what are our favorite foods?
Pizza.
I
just love pizza.
Yes. I have 2 favorite foods, and I think we've discussed this on here before.
Okay.
Pizza. I love
Me too.
Pizza. I eat it. I'm on a diet right now because we're doing a Biggest Loser thing at work, and I need badly to lose weight. I'm the heaviest I've ever been. I'm not going to say what it is. I'll say what it is. No, I'm not going to say what it is.
You don't have to do
that. But
I
need to lose weight because I feel horrible, and I think I'm going to feel a lot better if I lose weight. But pizza is one thing that I have a hard time.
I think pizza can be made healthy, though.
It can be, but then it's just not pizza.
I'm not saying take off the cheese. I'm just saying use less cheese. Turkey sausage is amazing. Turkey Italian sausage is amazing.
I was actually going to try cauliflower crust, but they said it's really not that much lower in calories. It's the same.
Yeah, it's if you're watching carbs, sure.
What are your favorite? What's your favorite pizza topping? What's your ultimate pizza?
So my husband Jim and I make pizza every Saturday night. It's homemade. I make the crust from scratch. Wow. I have perfected it. It is like paper thin and crispy.
Yeah, that sounds
It's
so
amazing.
Good.
Everybody who has our pizza says that we should open a restaurant. It's that good.
I am kind of drooling.
And all summer long, we cook it on the grill. But this time of year, we do it in the pizza on a pizza stone. We are just cheese sausage, mushroom, and onion. And we're using turkey sausage right now. And I like to drizzle a little truffle oil on afterwards.
I don't even know what truffle oil
Oh,
is.
it's amazing. A truffle is a fungus like a mushroom.
Yeah.
And has the most amazing flavor to it.
I'll take your word for
It's
it.
so good.
Bring me a piece
That's my
sometime. I kind of, if you have
ultimate
any leftovers, I want to try that.
And we are not sauce people. I do not use pizza sauce.
Really?
So I think it takes away from the whole pizza. We just put like an olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic mixture.
If you have a leftover piece sometime, I want to try a little piece.
It doesn't warm up that good though because the crust is so thin.
Oh,
I'll have to have
yeah.
you, Mark, Rhonda over for a pizza
Yeah,
night.
because we still got to see the house.
Yeah, totally.
I
love
am
pizza.
My classic.
My mouth is watering.
I know. I'm getting really hungry. My classic is just pepperoni and onions. I love pepperoni and I love onions.
Pepperoni's good when it curls up and it has like a little grease pool in the middle. Yeah.
But after
a little crunchy on the
after all
edges.
that, pizza is my second favorite food because my ultimate number one is still chicken tikka masala.
Oh, okay.
And, I think I've talked about this on here. It came from when I was dating Natalie. She drove up to Green Bay one day and got lost. And she ended up by this little Indian restaurant. And she went in. And then when she got home, she's like, you have to go there. This place is amazing. And, of course, me being me, I fought it tooth and nail. I didn't want to go there.
Kurt doesn't like change.
Didn't want to go somewhere different. And then we went there. I tried the chicken tikka masala. And I was just like, oh, my Lord.
What's the name of the restaurant?
Taste of India.
Okay.
And I love chicken tikka masala. It's
Interesting.
technically, I've heard, not an Indian dish. I think it was actually made in England. It was created in
Really?
England. Yeah.
That's surprising.
But everybody that I have taken there to try it gets hooked on it. I went there with Miranda, and Miranda's really kind of fussy, so I didn't think she was going to like it. And, we went up to it's like a all-you-can-eat buffet. We went up to the buffet table.
An all-you-can-eat Indian food
Yes.
buffet. I would be in
You and I should go up there
heaven.
sometime. Seriously,
Yeah,
you and
we
I need
should.
to go up there. But I brought Miranda there, and she got the tikka masala, the naan bread, which is amazing.
Yes.
So we went back to the table, and we were talking back and forth, and she wasn't really thinking, and she went down and she put it in her mouth, and she started eating it. We're talking, all of a sudden she goes, oh my God. She's like, this is so good. So now she's hooked on it, and everybody that I know that has tried it is hooked on it. So chicken tikka masala
Is your number one?
is my number one.
That's interesting because I would say curry. Any kind of curry.
Curry is good. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
curry.
Yep.
Curried lentils, any kind of coconut curry dish. There's actually a restaurant in Manitowoc that it used to be a Newey's. Do you remember Newey's?
Newey's works we have that waterfront wine bar now.
Well, he made the most amazing coconut curry
Yeah.
chicken.
Yep.
That was super
Yep.
spicy.
We have a waterfront wine bar now.
And Newey is
And he's one of the cooks. He has his stuff is like
Nice.
specials of the day, so his stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
But curry is
I
amazing.
love curry. And I love everything that comes with
Yes.
it. Like all the little condiments and like naan bread. Yeah, Indian food. I love
But
Indian
you'd be
food.
hard pressed to
And it's
find.
really healthy.
Yeah, it is. You'd be hard pressed to find a food I don't like because I'm
I'm a foodie.
I'm
I
a
love
foodie too.
food.
So I
Yeah.
like spaghetti. I love pasta.
I love a good cheeseburger.
I
Like
love fast. I like a bar
go on for
cheeseburger.
days.
Yeah, but fast food. That is.
Kroll's in Green Bay.
I'm
has one of the
realizing
best
fast
burgers.
food is one of my problems because
Fast
before
food's
the
not that good,
holidays,
though.
for a while, and this is really bad. Even if I was not hungry and I went past the McDonald's, I would go through and get the 2 cheeseburgers for $2, and I would pound them down, and that's
no.
600 calories
Yeah.
for 2, and I wouldn't even be hungry. But
Go
I'm
to
finding out
Culver's
now that
instead.
my problem is Burger King.
Oh, really?
Like I swear to God that they pump that
They do.
flame,
The smell? Yeah.
out, and there's the bank that I go to get money out of the ATM is there.
right next to it.
And I swear that I start drooling as soon as I smell that smell. And yesterday it took all of my power not to drive through there and get a cheeseburger.
I don't think they taste like they smell though. That smell is way better than the actual burger.
No, and it's funny because I was
don't get the
listening.
Impossible Burger either. To
It wasn't
me.
bad. I tried it.
But it's not healthy. People are thinking that's healthy. It's super processed. There's no nutritional value to it. If you're a vegetarian, you want junk food, get the Impossible
One
Burger.
thing that's weird, and this is like a synchronicity, which I was like blown away by, was I was listening to the Sofa King podcast, and they were talking about food. They were talking about fast food, and I was driving downtown Manitowoc, kind of by where Jen's Job is. You know where Jen's Job is, by where the post office is.
Yeah, there's no fast food restaurants.
So I'm listening to
around there.
them talking, and they're talking about Burger King.
Yeah.
And they say, one of the guys says, that flame grilled isn't even actually, he said, that's like a flavor that they have made.
Sure.
And he said, who makes like that kind of smoke flavoring is Red Arrow in Manitowoc, Wisconsin.
Weird.
And he said that when I was by the Red Arrow plant.
That's weird.
And that was one of those ones that makes me almost like kind of dizzy because it's like, oh my God, this is really weird.
That's really
but
weird.
They mentioned Manitowoc, that Red Arrow. They mentioned Red Arrow.
I'm sure it's like liquid smoke.
It is. That's what Red Arrow makes is like liquid smoke.
Okay.
And when you go by there, sometimes it smells really. It smells like mesquite, so it smells really good. But he mentioned Red Arrow on there, which I thought was really weird because I was right there.
Luckily, I don't crave McDonald's or Culver's. To me, Culver's is the most fast food I'll do, but they're like, they literally, everything's fresh made.
I'm not that crazy about Culver's.
I love their burgers.
They're good. It's good. But
and their onion rings.
Their onion rings. For the longest time, I told Miranda that Dairy Queen had better onion rings, and she was like, "You're an idiot." So then we went through there, and we got them. I'm like, "Oh my God, these are good."
They're so good.
So yeah, I'm getting hungry. So
I am too.
We'll stop.
I ate at like 5 a.m. That's like 4 hours ago.
I had my Egg McMuffin meal on my drive here.
I eat my lunch when I get to work.
So those are our favorite foods.
I could talk for days.
So could I. We may have to make a
oh
food
my God.
podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love
a spinoff.
Yeah.
Strange food.
Yeah. Cheeseburgers.
Yeah. Pizza, curry, cheeseburgers.
Chicken tikka masala.
Those are all the
If you've never had
food.
it, try it.
And
so
pasta.
I think that's that.
And pasta.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of food, should we do a pickle joke?
We'll do a pickle joke.
All right.
I can't believe how much people love the pickle jokes.
Really? Oh, this one's, oh jeez. It says, "Will the real cute cumber please stand up?" And it's 3 angry looking pickle ladies.
Nice.
Angry pickle ladies. I don't know about that one. Oh, these are terrible.
Gotta do one.
I guess I'm just gonna go down in order. What kind of books do pickles like?
What kind?
Spicy ones. I mean, and the picture doesn't even really lend to the joke at all.
No,
it's just a
it
pickle
doesn't.
reading some books.
It doesn't.
Spicy pickles. Okay.
Okay. Email us at thestrangesessions@gmail.com. We are on Twitter at Strange Session that I don't think either of us ever touch.
Well, I always copy to Twitter when I post on Instagram,
good.
And Dash always shares our tweets.
Thank you, Dash. We love you, Dash.
We have followers.
Dash is
We have people
awesome.
liking stuff on Twitter.
Dash and I have a pizza date because when he comes up through because he's always going to Green Bay. And he goes right past Manitowoc. When it works out, Pizza Garden in Manitowoc, which is like my absolute favorite pizza. Almost. Now Hazel's and Two Rivers I really like. But yeah, we'll get pizza. But he wants to stop at Pizza Garden, so him and I might stop there one of these times
that would
he
be
comes
really
through
cool.
for pizza. So that would be awesome. So thanks, Dash. We are on Instagram. Really, Krista does a great job on Instagram, and I did not realize we had so many people that kind of follow us on Instagram.
We have, I don't know, over 400 people. I'm sure a lot of those are just people who want to follow back, but we do have a lot of people commenting.
If you want to send us something, and you guys have been good about sending postcards. We have gotten lots of postcards and stuff lately, so thank you so much for those.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You can send us snail mail at The Strange Sessions, P.O. Box 434, Manitowoc, Wisconsin, 54221-0434. And unless you are... my papers just went on the floor. And unless you are LaFont, Paulinda, or a ghost, you can call our phone number at 920-443-9602. We haven't gotten a phone number or phone call in a long time. So
Wasn't it Dash's wife?
Yeah.
Who left the last
voicemails?
Jesse.
So even if you are LaFont, Paulinda, or a ghost, give us a call.
We'll take it. We're desperate.
We'll take it. So I think for the season premiere, I think that is it.
All right.
Any last
words?
Any last words?
No, I'm just excited to kick off season 4.
I am too. And thank you guys for being patient.
Yeah.
We needed this break to recharge our batteries. Yeah. And we know when it's time to start recording because people start giving us little hints like, when are you guys coming back?
Totally.
And, the little memes and stuff they put
I love
on
that
there.
people miss us. So
I do. I love that people miss us
cool.
too. And I miss doing it.
Me too.
I played the hell out of Kingdom Hearts games over break. So now I'm kind of burned out on that. So now I'm back to researching, and we got some good topics coming this season. I sent you the email that one of our listeners wanted us to do a certain state for the strange states, and they made like a PDF about stuff. And I'm like, all right, since you went through so much trouble,
we'll do that.
We are going to have a strange states episode coming up in the first 3 or 4 episodes, and we got some good stuff lined up.
See, right there says we're not going to run out of stuff. We have a lot of states to get through.
I hope we do. We could. That's true. Good point. We're going to be around for a while, I guess.
We will.
So thank you guys so much for being patient, and we look forward to another great season.
Yep.
So from Krista and I, from the Old School Media Studio on this chilly morning, until next time, stay strange.
This has been an Old School Media production, executive produced by Kirk Konechny. For more information and content, please visit strangesessions.com.